You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Fantastic news for Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers, as just about a half an hour before we came on air today, a four-star offensive lineman, Ethan Calloway, has committed to the LSU Tigers. So fantastic news for Brian Kelly and this LSU 2024 signing class. Calloway is this is a big-time offensive line prospect, and you probably don't need me to say this, but I feel almost obligated. But every time we talk about the offensive line and Brian Kelly, there are two positions that Brian Kelly has just pumped players into the NFL at an elite clip more than any other during his time as a head coach. Offensive line, tight end. I don't think it's any coincidence that in 2022, his first year in Baton Rouge, you had two true freshman offensive line emerge and be studs, that you saw a guy like Charles Turner really take a big step progressing forward. I don't think it's a coincidence that you were able to sign a solid offensive line class. You had Mason Taylor as a freshman step up as a 3-star. He knows what he's looking for. He knows what he's looking for in these prospects and how to build around them. So a little bit of the background on Ethan Calloway. He's from North Carolina. He has had offers from all the big schools: Florida, Georgia, Penn State, among the top contenders. Ethan Calloway, the 18th commit for LSU's 2024 class. That gives them now, in the on-3 composite, a top 10 class in the country with only 18 commitments so far. This was a little bit expected. His final official visit, he made an official visit to LSU last week, so it was his final official visit before making his commitment, which he did here on Friday. By the way, the first time that Calloway had been on campus was last November for the LSU-Alabama game. Needless to say, if you are a 17 or 18-year-old and that is your first exposure to Tiger Stadium, which for many might go down as the greatest game that they ever saw in Tiger Stadium, that overtime win over Alabama, I would say that would be pretty impactful. 6'7", 300 pounds. He's a top 10 offensive tackle in the country, number 74 overall on the prospect list on the on-3 composite. So, I mean, you want to look at every box to check. I mean, he's a 4-star. He's huge, 6'7", 300 pounds. He had offers from basically every major program that you can imagine: Georgia, Florida, LSU among his finalists. So this is a big get for LSU, and a guy that projects as a tackle once he gets to school as well. Sometimes you have big guys that might slide inside and play guard, but when you look at how LSU's roster shapes up on the offensive line, think about this. So he'll be a freshman in 2024. So you'll go through this season returning effectively your entire starting line. In whatever way your first 5 or 6 may go, you got your bookend tackles. Charles Turner is likely your starting center. You got the Maryland transfer, Mason Lunsford, who's a bit of a wild card in this one. But Miles Frazier, Garrett Dellinger, likely your returners at guard. And, you look at a guy like Martinez, who really emerged late last season for LSU. You've got your top 6 guys going into the season, and Lunsford, if you want to include him as a 7th. But after this season, you likely lose Miles Frazier. And obviously, you've got Zalance Hurd coming in as well, a 5-star. But you're going to lose Miles Frazier. You're likely going to lose Garrett Dellinger after this coming season. Lose Charles Turner. So while you return your top 6 guys this year, next year for 2024, when Ethan Calloway will be a freshman, you're going to be like really the only guys you should have back for 2024 are your bookend tackles with Emory Jones and, well, Will Campbell, but I guess we could, whatever role Zalance Hurd ends up playing on this team, I'm sure he'll be a key contributor at some point and then ready to be a starter in 2024. But the point is, when Calloway shows up, if he lives up to the promise and the potential that he has when he shows up on campus, you're talking about a guy who could be a I don't want to say a plug and play, but could be a ready-made contributor as a freshman. So a really big get for Brian Kelly and his squad. Hat tip to Brad Davis as LSU continues to build along that offensive line and continues to build an elite offensive line. So when you kind of look at the 2023 offensive line class that they just signed, so we know, again, you're returning your top 6. You add Mason Lunsford, the Maryland transfer. You signed Zalance Hurd, who was the highest rated player in this most recent class for LSU. DJ Chester was an interior offensive lineman that you signed. DJ Chester out of Georgia. You signed Tyree Adams, who's a 4-star out of St. Aug, big 6'5", 280-pounder. They love his build, his body, that they think they could really continue to develop him further as a tackle. Paul Mubenga, 3-star, more of a project that they're bringing in out of Buford, Georgia. That's 4 offensive linemen that you signed in this most recent class. And then also remember, we mentioned, of course, you got Mason Lunsford out of the transfer portal, but you also had the late tight end add out of the portal this year, and that's a player that you're looking at saying, okay, as we talked about, who likely projects as an offensive lineman. He's basically a blocking tight end this year, but with the idea eventually you're going to turn him into an offensive tackle. So, there's this common belief that you should sign 5 offensive linemen in every recruiting class, so that way you're never deficient. Maybe those numbers change a little bit. Maybe those numbers change a little bit now, considering the transfer portal and how you can supplement with starters if you need to. But Brian Kelly continues to show you why he puts such an emphasis on the offensive line, why he's been so good at it, because he puts the emphasis on it. And the pitch that they have for elite offensive linemen, despite the fact that you stockpile them, despite the fact that you have Emory Jones and Will Campbell, you were able to get Zalance Hurd in this class. You're able to go to North Carolina and get Ethan Calloway to commit for the class of 2024. And they're going to continue building on top of that as well. So good news for LSU as here just about 30 minutes ago on this Friday, Ethan Calloway, the big 4-star offensive lineman out of North Carolina, picks LSU over Florida, Georgia, NC State, and others. The 18th commit for LSU's 2024 class. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.